Hello everyone, welcome back to another Borderlands video. You guys seem to enjoy my Elemental Explosions while on Moe's build, so today I'm going to do a breakdown of my Zane, who I call Cold Chaos Zane. For the most part, this is some pretty standard stuff you generally see on Zane builds. The anointment it focuses around is the while Sentinel is active, you gain 100% cryo damage. To complement that, we have Seeing Dead to maintain our Sentinel pretty much all the time. And then we have an Old God to further boost our cryo damage. That's just sort of a quick gloss. We're going to go further into, obviously, the skill tree, what I've picked, and the gear, and, what I've chosen for it. So we'll start off here with the blue tree because, obviously, Hitman and Seeing Dead are sort of go hand in hand. The biggest parts about Seeing Dead to really maintain your action skill all the time are having good misfortune, death follows close, and then on top of that, borrowed time. Now, the exact equation for the absolute minimum skill points you can invest into borrowed time, I cannot, I used to have it very min-maxed, but at this point, just to make it as easy as possible to maintain them without having to really maximize the effort, it's just nice to have borrowed time maxed out, good misfortune maxed out, and then obviously death follows close is pretty much essential to buff the effectiveness of these kill skills, or this kill skill, good misfortune right here. This also is good because Seeing Dead will activate all your other kill skills as well, and increasing the duration as well as their effectiveness just overall is going to increase your damage and effectiveness in the battlefield tremendously. So to start up at the top, we'll go through the action skills first. Obviously, we got Sentinel. I use Bad Dose to get some movement speed, as well as I like that rate of fire. And it also just weakens enemies, which is kind of nice. But obviously, you could also go with Winter Dose. If you like Static Field, you can go with that. I don't find it necessary at all. Almighty Ordnance is pretty not great last time I used it. I don't know if it's better now, but last time I used it wasn't very good. On top of that, because this is just sort of the best I found was the best little addition to Sentinel's damage, I have it shoot the rockets as well. But obviously, the augments are entirely up to you. The main thing is that you're using Sentinel as a part of this build. Second action skill is Digiclone. We're using Digiclone, and we're also giving it a copy of our guns, which lets you do some pretty crazy stuff with this build, which I'll get into once actually, I'll just get into it now. The nice thing about Double Barrel mixed with your Digiclone is we have a Dark Army here, which you saw me holding there in the intro. When your clone gets a copy of your Dark Army, it also gets a copy of its special effect, which spawns several drones around here. This creates a nice little synergy with the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge, which stacks damage increase whenever you do damage. And this is any kind of shooting or damage you're doing to enemies. So having all those drones will just make sure your Pearl is staying nice and stacked up all the time. So you can even do some stupid stuff like I'll show off later on, where you can pretty much just run around and not do anything. You can just let your drones handle everything. So the augments for Digiclone, we have Schadenfreude. I'm not German. I don't know these words. Whenever your clone takes damage, Zane restores a portion of your shields. This is pretty good defensively overall. It just, good for you. Doppelbanger. This is really important for me whenever you finish up a group of enemies. And obviously, you don't want to just swap back and forth to try and move your clone to the next engagement. Let's just get him out of here so we can get him back on the field in a better position without micromanaging him and, having to run around. It just sort of helps keep the pace up. So that's why I really, really like Doppelbanger, and I think it's one of the better augments for your clone when you're running Seeing Dead, because you can basically force its end and then put it where you want to put it without having to worry about, waiting around or doing some, as I said, doing some egregious movements. All the augments, honestly, in general, for the clone are pretty good. But again, I think these two are pretty much the best in terms of the setup that I've put together here. Now, obviously, going down the tree in the blue stuff, we have Violent Momentum, because Violent Momentum just gets you a pretty good amount of damage when you're moving around. This combos very, very well with some of the gun selection we have here, because a lot of the guns we have here don't really require us to aim a whole lot. So we just sort of run around and shoot, and then things are going to blow up, which is, what you want. Uh, Violent Speed, this gives you some more speed, so which obviously complements Violent Momentum. I only have a couple points in here because I've sort of minimized the amount of points I've putting in this tree. Um, we have Cool Hand because this is basically the core of being able to reload fast in this build. Like you just get that nice extra reload speed. Um, Next we have Salvation, or is that Salvation? Yeah, Salvation. I think it's a pun on like vampires is the name of it. Like salvate, like it's your salvation, but you're also salvating. uh, which is, we only need 1 point in this because this is going to, I don't think this stacks actually like others, but it does gain increased effectiveness, and obviously with damage scaling in Mayhem mode, you only need 1 point in this because of the way lifesteal skills. It's going to heal you a lot just for having 1 point. Drone delivery. This is pretty good with the way I have this build set up because the grenade I have chosen is It's Piss! It is also anointed with on grenade throw, weapon grenade, and action skill damage is increased by 25% for 6 seconds. So whenever the drone or my clone throws or slash drops a grenade, I gain this buff. It also, when they hit an enemy with it, that enemy takes 20% increased damage for 6 seconds. If it hits me or my clone, it's not going to do any self-damage to us, which is great for the clone because the clone has a habit of, when throwing grenades, blowing itself up, as you'll see when I have it using the back burner here. So yeah, you can just sort of clear off debuffs as well, and it's just a nice grenade that is pretty safe pick overall for Zane, without adding any sort of risk or anything. As we've gone over, part of the core of the build is the See and Dead, so I figured I'd just show it off while I'm over on this menu. So this is just more kill skills effectiveness and lets you keep them up. I have a really, really good roll here because I actually want playing Dirty +2, and then the other one's Rate of Fire. The Rate of Fire you can interchange with what's it called? Donnybrook, which is just going to be more raw damage. But the reason I've taken this one is compared to other ones that have points in Donnybrook, this has 35% weapon damage, grenade damage, and cryo resistance. Which that weapon damage alone is worth taking no points in Donnybrook at all, just because it's more raw. It's going to be more raw weapon damage than having 1 or 2 points in it. So obviously next we have See in Red. Whenever you activate an action skill, it activates all your kill skills. That's a nice little jump start when you're first getting into combat to get all your kill skills up. Not really much more to be said about that. Violent Violence, more Rate of Fire, can stack twice. It is a lot of Rate of Fire. This is a fairly substantial increase when you have both stats of it. Playing Dirty, we have this up to the point where it's pretty much guaranteed. Now, part of the reason for this is to double up on our bullet fires from Soul Render, which the Soul Render, whenever the bullets hit something, it has a chance to spawn a skull, a homing skull that homes in on nearby enemies, which is the real damage of the gun, not its bullets. But if you double up on the bullets, that doubles up on the chance that it's going to fire skulls or more, even more skulls around. So just pretty good for the Soul Render for the purpose of the way we use it. The Lob. Playing Dirty is great for the Lob because the Lob does a crud ton of damage as it passes through enemies, and having it fire 2 of them, it drastically increases its damage output, which is great. Dark Army, it's just a little bit more damage output, which is nice. It's not really huge for the Dark Army, but it's enough to be noticeable. Then Backburner, obviously doubling up on a rocket shot is phenomenal. That's great because it's essentially you get a free extra shot whenever you're firing a rocket, and it's doing way more burst damage. So overall, playing Dirty, really, really good for these guns. Some of the other guns I've got here, like for example, Playing Dirty is not very good with Light Show because it will only add one additional projectile to the Light Show instead of doubling up the projectile count. The same with a shotgun like the Anarchy I have here. It is not as good because it's only going to send that projectile count from 18 to 19. For the Q system, it's alright because the Q system is already one ammo for 2 shots, and adding another shot onto that is just going to be help put the Q system up over the top. Then in contrast to that, again, Monarch, not very good for it. Breath of the Dying, pretty good for it. So another alternative I generally use here to the if I feel like it or if I facing a lot of armored enemies, I'll throw Breath of the Dying on instead of my Soul Render because I don't have a Cryo Soul Render yet. Sadly, I've been farming one for a while and haven't gotten it. It's also pretty good with the Plasma Coil, which is another gun we have on standby here as an SMG. But again, the Dark Army is sort of part of this build is actually using the Dark Army and not having to focus in on the meta guns, which the Plasma Coil is one of the best guns in this entire game. Good Misfortune, we went over that before. That's basically to make it so you can keep your action skills up all the time, and we went through Death Follows Close. Next, we'll go through Double Agent. More gun damage while you have your action skills out. That's great. That's pretty much just a passive increase to your gun damage overall. Donnybroke, which will be triggered by Seeing Dead, so that's more gun damage. Some health regeneration, which is nice for your clone. Fractaled Frags. This is great because then your clone's going to throw grenades as well as it has a chance to drop free ones. Whenever you kill an enemy while the Digiclone is active, it'll throw more It's Piss, which, isn't bad. I believe that also gets triggered by Seeing Dead. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe it does. We went over Borrowed Time. This is combined with Good Misfortune to keep your action skills up all the time. We put a single point into Duct Tape mod just because it gives Zane immunity to any self-damage his guns do, which is crazy because you can do some super reckless and dumb things as Zane just by having a single point in this one skill here. And it's for no other purpose that you have that skill. So you can go point blank with a rocket launcher or the back burner here and not take any self-damage. You could throw a Dark Army at your feet, not take any self-damage. Using the Breath of the Dying, it spawns those little orbs. You come into contact with one of those orbs. One of those orbs will normally kill you. It's not going to do anything to you now, though. So, Duct Tape mod. Put a point in that. It's worth it for just about every single Zane build out there. Quick Breather. Whenever you swap place with your clones, you get your shield back. Just a nice little defensive skill. It's only 1 point, so might as well. Old U. This lets you detonate your clone while you're in fight for your life to get back up. So it's a good little bit of recovery to have in case you get into a bad situation. Pocket full of grenades. Not really necessary, but obviously I put a point in there just because having that grenade regeneration makes it so I'm not going to run out of a grenade stock for a skill we're going to cover in just a few seconds. Supersonic Man, more movement speed for each action skill active, which combos, again, nicely in with Violent Speed and Violent Momentum. Boom Enhance, whenever you activate your Digiclone, it consumes a bunch of grenades and gets a lot of buffs and gets really, really, really freaking strong. So that is why you will want pocket full of grenades here, so that if you ever have to move your clone, you will still have a stock of grenades for Boom Enhance to make maximum effect. Then obviously we already went over Double Barrel. Not much to be said there. You get to copy your guns and your clone does more damage. Over here, this is these few skills we grabbed just because Brain Freeze is actually not a bad skill. Whenever you score a critical hit, the enemy has a chance to be slowed. This effect stacks until they're frozen. And I believe your clone triggers this as well, if I remember. It's been a little bit since I played Zane a lot, so don't necessarily quote me on that. But Brain Freeze also, actually, even though it doesn't say, does an additional instance of damage when you critical strike. Like, it does cryo damage to them to apply this slow chance effect. So that's another thing to be noted about this skill. Maximum shield capacity, which is nice, just makes you more solid. And then ready for action, again, more solid with your shields. Last things we're going to cover. Renegade. After scoring a critical hit, Zane regenerates health for a short time. Just a nice little bit of health regen because, well, it's not really necessary, but mainly to push down the tree here. Deja Vu. Whenever Zane kills an enemy with a critical hit, there's a chance 1 ammo to be added to magazine. This is actually not too bad. Honestly, you could probably convert the ammunition from here into this, but the problem is it's only 1 shot. This is generally better for sniper rifles, whereas we're not using a sniper rifle, at least right now. But those are both there to get down to this. Commitment. Kill skill. Zane gains additional gun damage and action skills cooldown rate whenever he lands a kill skill. So if your action skills do run out, this will be helpful. In addition, this will also be up all the time just because of seeing dead. Anyway, that's pretty much everything. We've briefly covered over the guns. I've shown you the items. And so let's get into it. We're going to do a run through the anvil here. We are playing on Mayhem 10, so there are going to be modifiers.
That one have a bounty? No.
And one of the nice things about the modifiers I have chosen is my drones will attack all of them. I am out of ammo on SMG. That's something I'm going to have to remedy. What do we got here? Yeah, let's just... Hey, bud. As you can see, I still have drones because that was the gun I gave to my clone.
Didn't anyone teach you how to fight?
And see, normally I think that me spawning a skull there to kill that death skull, I think that normally would have killed me, but it did not because the awesomeness that is duct tape. One part about this build is it will absolutely vomit out ammo because of your 1 kill skill. Let's give you a copy of the Soul Render this time. And see, my clone actually died there because he was point blank with the Soul Render. There's Death Skull. Yeah, that was a Death Skull. Fire a bunch of those. See you later.
That man is dangerous! Get him!
Ooh, lots of anointing today. That other one is not coming. Oh, now they're out of their shots. We got some ammo back on our Dark Army, but oh, these are immune to cryo. These are going to take a little while to kill because we're losing, I don't know, a significant amount of our damage. That's okay. Let's get our clone up in here. Up in it. Up in it. Yeah, that's another thing that's worth mentioning is your clone is not immune to self-damage. You are immune to self-damage, but your clone is not. So your clone will still kill themselves on occasion. We have over here. We have backing. We don't care about backing. There are much better shields out there. Behind me. As you can see, our drone ran out there, so our damage dipped. But not so much that we couldn't kill stuff, just, you know, enough to be noticeable.
Time to die! Kill! Run about town!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not me hitting those crits there, so... And those things are freezing pretty freaking quickly. Ooh, that's all. But I'm back.
Hey! It's a bad Earth.
A bad Earth, as opposed to a normal Earth.
I'm still sitting. I'm the thief, and you're the mule. Screw you, mule.
Ooh. There we go, get rid of clone for now. Oh, not a boomsicle though. Let's use the lob some more here. What we'll do though is
Jealous the rest of you get to see this all the time.
oh yeah, that's another thing that I forgot to note. Your clone can kill you with a rocket launch. I completely forgotten about that little tidbit. Well, actually, we're gonna switch your gun here.
Just leave it in. Look, it's the real Zane. There.
Such good quotes.
That's it, biggin. How's your fun?
Hello. Goodbye. Ooh. Done here. Say goodbye to the clone. Oh, we got a decent amount of SMG now. We'll roll with the. Several of them here. Soul render out for you, just so don't have to worry about aiming. Alright, the drone storm has arrived. I'm just gonna sit back here and let them do their business. I go this way. Yes, this is progression. Oh no, this is not progression. This is the wrong way. We're not going to clear out the entirety of the anvil. We're going to head to the warden, pretty much straight for him. Let's see what we got in here. Nothing, because I can already see there's no star. That's a tip if you don't know that. When you open a chest, if there's a legendary in there, the moment you open the chest, it will show the star on the minimap.
Maybe I'll take a breather.
Pop our clone here. The nice thing about summoning your clone is you'll get movement speed, and then popping it, you get movement speed again because it triggers kill skills.
Decoy deploy!
That was actually perfect positioning for the clone. I didn't even know it was going to be perfect positioning. It ended up being. That was great. Create a flank on the enemy. That's the kind of stuff that you want to try and aim to do with your clone. Like, even if you summon your clone preemptively, you can use your movement speed to sort of, you know, race in there, swap out, and then, you know, put him in basically the position you want to be standing in when you summon him. And then run into the position you want him to be. And then you just change places. Change places! It's like a crazy game of musical chairs. We have someone behind us. Ah. Another gun that does really, really nasty things with this setup is one of the best guns in the game, the Free Radical. Because doubling up on those projectiles also doubles up on its secondary projectile, and the Free Radical just does egregious damage as is. But I've been trying to not just stick with the same guns. Like, I try to go for a theme. So the theme on this one was sort of like alien weapons and, you know, energy balls and stuff like that. Alright, so what we're gonna do here, we're gonna make sure I salvage these. And then at this point, I'm not gonna do anything. I just did that to salvage my drone. Closer. We just let our drones have some fun. And see, right now, even without me doing anything, with all the diminishing returns of my drones, they were still maintaining my drone there. Without me doing a thing. Silly little stuff like that if you want. Because your drones will even attack death skulls, too. You know, sort of have some fun with this build. It's one of the things I like about it. Alright, let's see what we get. Ooh, we got a plague bear. We got a corrosive plague bear. That is not too bad. Okay, we'll take that. We'll take that. We're not really interested in that. Before we call it, let's take a peek at the chest back up here. Or back up here. ASMD. Not as bad as it used to be. It's still not something I'm going to consider using personally, just because it's a little bit annoying to use. But yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed this. Hope you learned something here. Some handy tips for your own builds, maybe. Or maybe you just want to make a build just like this. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.